from sends in this. People's verdict will be expected. Father Simon, the assembled collective, although he actually writes corrective, so I'm not quite sure whether that's being very clever or not. This confession goes back to 1963, when things in the world were somewhat different from today in just about every way you can imagine. I was just 8 years old. My dad was in the RAF, and me and my brothers had been put in boarding school. This was because Dad moved around a lot with the RAF, but he's given me a stable and consistent education from juniors to senior school. The prep school in question was a beautiful school, very large, had extended property right in the middle of extensive and extremely well-maintained gardens. These are all very important points. To the front of the schoolhouse was a well-manicured lawn, about the size of a standard football pitch. This was surrounded by an ornate brick wall about 2 feet high. Situated on the far side of this lawn and furthest away from the house was a rather grand and immaculately kept statue. Now, regular listeners will know that statues never come out very well out of confessions. This depicted the saint after whom the school was named after. We're going to change the name of the saint.
Brilliant.
So you can't identify the school. We're going to call him St. Custard.
St. Custard?
St. Custard, yes.
Right.
Therefore, nothing is identifiable.
Okay.
The statue of St. Custard stood about 5 feet tall, was on a solid plinth. Total height about 7 feet. It displayed St. Custard holding the baby Jesus in one hand, which obviously really happened, and the child sitting on his arm. And his other hand was outstretched as if in invitation to anyone who wanted to join them. This was the pride and joy of the school, and many fetes were conducted in front of him on the beautiful lawn. I was in a dorm of 5 boys. It's positioned on the ground floor at the front, and it looked out onto the pride and joy of the school, in other words, the lawn and St. Custard. The dorm had 2 entrances. One door that led into the main part of the house, and the patio doors that led out to the veranda. These in turn led onto the lawn and the statue and our fabulous saint. Lights out, 8:30. And we were expected to sleep until 7 the following morning. So this night, which happened to be the first day back after the holes, the lights were turned off as usual, and we all pretended to be going to sleep. Soon as about 5 minutes had passed, we all assembled on one bed and excitedly ate the snacks that we'd been saving up from the school tuck shop for this very occasion. Snacks were plentiful and varied. There were some pop bottles, many various different chocolate wrappers, crisp packets, just about anything 8-year-old boys could find to eat, including chewing gum, which was, of course, frowned upon. After about an hour, we started daring each other, small dares to begin with, and then, of course, it turned to the inevitable, a group dare to reach the statue on the far side of the lawn. Our exit was courtesy of the French doors. Now, this was a group effort. We then had to decide who was going to lead the way, which route we would take, and what to do when we got there. This is obviously the important question. The result was we would place some bottles on the various parts of the statue. He did, after all, have an outstretched, welcoming hand. Now, due to our height being quite small, one person was required to carry a chair, enabling us to reach the parts of St. Custard.
Okay.
Mainly, but not exclusively, his outstretched fingers.
Okay.
I accepted this assignment. Now, it's early September, and we must be about 9 o'clock in the evening. We felt safe in the knowledge that it was getting dark. We were like members of the Great Escape tunnelling team, because that ended well.
Yeah.
We moved quick and lightly over towards the statue, me carrying this blasted chair. Several times I stopped and sat on it, and each time it created rather cute but somehow deep holes in the lawn. How unfit is Mart. If he's just running a few steps, then he has to sit down on the chair.
Right.
Anyway, eventually we reached the statue. We put the chair in position, and one person stood on the chair as he received the required number of bottles for the saint's hand. It very soon became evident that there were more bottles than the saint had fingers. So by carefully repositioning the chair, we were able to continue to adorn the statue with cherryade, cream soda, limeade, and dandelion and burdock bottles.
Wow.
Yes,
It is the 60s.
It is the 1960s. Not wishing to carry our rubbish back, we then decided that the statue could be further offered the crisps and the chocolate bar wrappers. Lastly, we placed a piece of chewing gum on the nose of the baby Jesus. This was probably not a good thing to do. We exited lawn right and made our way back to the dorm. The following morning in the large dining room, there seemed to be somewhat of a commotion taking place. Instead of the boys sitting there waiting their turn for breakfast, everyone, including the teachers, staring out of the windows towards the lawned area and our newly decorated fabulous statue. We're all told to sit down and to stop talking. After a few minutes, the headmaster and the matron appeared at the head table. We were simply told that whoever was responsible for the chaotic new look of the statue and whoever was responsible for the numerous holes in the lawn needed to own up now. We looked at each other. Nobody said a word. As a result, the whole school were told there would be no tuck shop for the rest of the term.
Oh, dear.
Outrageous and terrible. And looking back, I must admit I did miss not going to the tuck shop for over 6 weeks. I did miss the chocolate and the crisps and the bottles of fizzy pop. And I suppose I seek forgiveness not from the teachers or the headmaster. Almost certainly all have passed away. Or from the head groundsman whose lawn we so seriously damaged, but from the other pupils, 95 of them, who had no tuck shop for the rest of that term. Also, I need forgiveness from the baby Jesus for the unnecessary nose job that he got. Seeking forgiveness somewhat belatedly, to be perfectly honest. Well, let's see how we go on. Forgiveness for Martin, Sister Susie, the voice of responsibility.
Well, Martin, I like the commitment that you went to, and it was a dare, so you were only children. However, it was just too much. I think you didn't need the chewing gum. It was a bit, you were littering. It wasn't very nice. So I'm sorry. I'm not going to forgive you.
A brother from another gutter.
I mean, does this collective punishment thing ever work? If nobody admits to it, then the whole school's getting banned. That never works, because no one's going to admit to it. So waste of time from the school, as far as I'm concerned. And this must have happened before. There must have been kids who've been adorning this saint with, bottles and chewing gum. Must have happened before. School should have been prepared for it. And just the adorning of St. Custard, as far as I'm concerned, must have been a trifling matter.
Oh, my goodness.
St. Custard,
Okay.
trifling matter.
People's verdict on the